Okay, good morning everybody and welcome to this Mid-Suffolk District Council Licensing Subcommittee. The committee has been called to hear an application to vary a premises licence for the cafe at Broad Street in Eye. I'm just going to move on to the agenda. The procedure will be fairly simple. It will start with the licensing officer giving an outline of the application. If there's any questions based on that short presentation, you'll be entitled to ask questions. The members may also have questions as well. Following that, it will then be your opportunity to give your statement and present your case to the members for them to decide. They will obviously have some questions for you. Usually there will be objectors here, but there are none, so what would normally happen is they would then have an opportunity to make their objections. So the members will be working on the written representations that have been received from the objectors here, but obviously you can address any issues that you have regarding those. And then it will be a quick summing up. You will have the last say as the applicant. The members will then go into a private session, and it will just be that the three subcommittee members and myself as legal advisor. We also have Councillor Phillips at the back. He's here as a reserve member, but with your permission, he will stay and listen to the private deliberations. If you're happy with that, I can assure you will not take part in the decision-making process. It's just as a training exercise for Councillor Phillips. Okay, so moving on to item 2 on the agenda, I need a nomination for the chair for this.
Thank you. I'd like to propose Councillor Guthrie as the chair.
Okay. Thank you.
I will second that.
Okay, over to you.
Thank you very much indeed. I've got to remember how to press the button on myself. Welcome to this meeting of the Licensing Subcommittee. It will be broadcast live to YouTube and will be capable of repeated viewing. The entirety of the meeting will be filmed except for confidential or exempt items. If you attend the meeting in person, you will be deemed to have consented to being filmed, and the images and sound recordings could be used for webcasting or training purposes. The council, members of the public and the press may record, film, photograph or broadcast this meeting when the public and press are not lawfully excluded. Now, first of all, remind you of some domestic arrangements. Toilets are situated on the other side of the corridor. Water is available outside the room. If the fire alarm sounds, please leave the building immediately via the fire exit and make your way to the assembly point, which is the Ipswich Town football ground. Follow the signs directing you to the fire exits at each end of the floor. Do not enter the atrium, the ground floor area, and walkways. If you are in the atrium at the time of the alarm, follow the signs to the nearest fire exit. Use the stairs and not the lifts. Do not re-enter the building until you are told it is safe to do so. Please switch off all mobile phones or turn them to silent. So, apologies for absence? None. And to receive any declarations of interest by members? No? No? So I need to introduce everybody. My name's Cathy Guthrie and I'm the chairman today. We have Councillor Dave Muller and Councillor Penny Otten, and we are the three people making the decision today. We also have, as you first met, Nigel DeLue, who's our legal advisor. We have our licensing officer, Kay Sanders, and also Catherine Green. And we have committee officer. Thank you. Sorry, why didn't they put it here? And I know you from old. I do apologise. So if you'd like to introduce yourselves, and I'm sure you'll remember each other where I forget.
Well, my partners at Cafe and Bar 14, and I was the one who put the application through.
I'm John Summers. I'm just here to support. 20 years ago I had licences in the West End and the City of London, and because I've had a bit of experience and Chairman's fairly new, he lent me a little bit, so that's basically why I need to support them, yes. Excuse me.
And what is your name?
Summers, John Summers.
So can I call you Ken, is it? Jem. Can I call you Jem? Thank you. So can you confirm that you've received all the copies of the relevant papers that we'll be discussing today? You have. So we move on to... Just to check, you will be presenting your case yourself, won't you? Yeah, that's fine. So is there any party here today who wish to withdraw their application or representation? And that'll be yourself. Do you wish to withdraw anything? No. Thank you. So, to the licensing officer, have there been any requests from the parties for permission to call witnesses? Thank you. And have the parties indicated they wish to present documentary material?
Yes, Chair. We received a letter on the 20th of February. Unfortunately, that was after the end of the consultation date, and they have requested that it be accepted today.
Well, I've had legal advice on this, and as the gentleman's here to present and support, and it did arrive late, I don't think we can include the late paper, but obviously you're here yourself, so that will be acceptable. Thank you. So do you know how long you're likely to tell us about your case?
No longer than
10 minutes, something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. And so, Kay, how long do you think your case will be? How long are you going to be? Just read your report, that's fine. So that's fine. So would you like to summarise the matter under consideration, please?
Thank you, Chair. This hearing is to determine an application made to vary a premise licence made under Section 34 of the Licensing Act 2003 for Jem Suffolk in relation to the premise of Cafe 14 Broad Street, I. The application was received by the Licensing Authority on the 9th of January 2020, and a copy of this is attached to this report as Appendix B. The application made has been subject to the statutory consultation period as prescribed by regulation. The notices advertising the application have been on display at the premise and published in the press, the Dis Express, on the 17th of January 2020. The variation seeks to alter the existing premise licence. This is to amend the hours for the sale and supply of alcohol for consumption on the premises to Monday to Sunday, 12 o'clock midday to 00:30, and the opening hours of the premise to 8 o'clock to 0100 hours. Cafe has benefited from a premise licence issued by Mid-Suffolk District Council since the 10th of July 2018. A copy of the current premise licence, including the licence plan, are attached to this report as Appendix A. A hearing is necessary to determine the application following receipt of relevant representations. The licensing authority must carry out its functions under the Act with a view to promoting the licensing objectives, which are the prevention of crime and disorder, public safety, prevention of public nuisance, and the protection of children from harm. In carrying out its licensing functions, the licensing authority must have regard to its statement of licensing policy published under Section 5 of the Act and any guidance issued by the Secretary of State under Section 182. Where revisions are made to the legislation or guidance issued by the Secretary of State, there may be a period of time when the local statement of licensing policy is inconsistent with these revisions. In these circumstances, the licensing authority will have regard and give appropriate weight to the relevant changes, guidance, and also its own statement of licensing policy. The subcommittee will also be aware of the Human Rights Act 1998 considerations, specifically Article 6 for the applicant and Articles 8 and 1 of Protocol 1 for those raising representations when determining applications for the grant of licence. The subcommittee must, having regard to the representations made, take such steps, if any, as it considers appropriate for the promotion of the licensing objectives. To grant the licence subject to conditions which are consistent with the operating schedule accompanying the application, modified to such extent that the authority considers appropriate for promotion of the licensing objectives and subject to any mandatory conditions which must be included in the licence, or to reject the whole or part of the application. For these purposes, conditions of the licence are modified if any of them are altered or omitted or any new condition is added. Any party aggrieved by the decision taken by the licence authority in respect of this application has a statutory right of appeal to the Magistrates' Court. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Do you have any questions for the officer? No? I have a question. Have you, we see the complaints at the back, have you been out to the site to observe the site at all? And why?
Yes, Chair. Licensing done a joint visit with Environmental Protection on September the 13th after 2300 hours. The reason for the visit was that we received a complaint regarding noise and possible breaches of licence conditions.
And can you amplify on the possible breach of conditions, what that might be?
Yes, Chair. We did enter the building after 2300 hours. People were then being decanted from the building, but there were still a few people sitting upstairs. Environment Protection Officer asked to see the till roll. It was found that money was being taken, which people were running a tab. I think the applicant was not aware that this was not permitted, so we explained what was permitted, what was not permitted, and a subsequent warning letter from Environment Protection was sent to the premise licence holder just explaining the findings of the visit and what he must do.
Thank you. Members, do you have any further questions of the officer?
No, not the officer.
Penny? No? Thank you. Would you now like to present your case, please? Thank you.
That's it. We can do it remotely. We can you off as well.
I mean, us as CAFI, we're here to be an asset to the community, well, not only to the community but also visitors, and I believe that we are pursuing that with our service, our level of service, and also our variation in our service. On multiple occasions, we get customers come in and say they feel like that they're abroad because it's such a unique business that we do operate. And in order to further provide that service to our customers, we did apply for a variation in our licence. So our opening hours from 11 to 1 and our alcohol service hours from 10 p.m. to 12:30 after midnight. I believe that if we are granted, then we will be able to offer it to our customers and grow within the community. I mean, we have a phone line available, which if any nuisance is to be made for whatever reason, then they can call our number and then we'll be on call immediately. We have been open just over a year. Last year, Valentine's Day was our opening night. And since that day, we haven't had any complaints personally. No one has come and complained or no phone calls. And the police haven't been invited for whatever reason whatsoever. And that's me done.
Would you like to add something else to that to assist Jen?
Yeah. I'm 75 years of age, and my wife is 3 years younger than me, and we don't pop down there often, but we do pop down there sometimes after dinner for a drink. And I wouldn't support somebody that I didn't think was. I don't like noise for starters, and so I wouldn't want to be in a situation where there was too much noise. As I said, I had extensive licences in the 70s and the 80s in London, obviously registered at Scotland Yard, and enjoyed a very good relationship with both the police and the licensing authorities. And so I'm cognizant of the responsibilities that go with it, and so I wouldn't be supporting something that I didn't think was 100%. In my opinion, these people are very professional in their outlook, and the way they run their business. And I can say that because I once had an establishment where I had 42 people employed, and so I've got considerable experience both dealing with the public and with staff. And in my opinion, these people are very professional, a bit young, but they're learning, and I don't believe any mistakes they would make twice. That's my humble opinion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, Penny, do you have a question, please?
Yeah, a couple of questions. About your cafe terrace. Could I just ask, I presume there is some kind of fencing around it. What sort of lighting would you have up there? And would you be having any sort of heating? I know a lot of places have those gas heaters. Anything like that? Could you just, kind of describe how you would set out the roof terrace?
Currently, it's illuminated. There's a LED light by either end of. It's covered by two walls, and so the corner it has two sides, which are the walls of the building, and the other two sides, which are the stalls, the seats. There's LED lights on both of the walls, and also the hallway leading to the terrace. It's glass, so the light from the hallway shines onto the terrace. Regarding heating, we don't, and we're not thinking of having any form of heating there. The one thing we are is having an oversized umbrella, so when it does get rainy, then we'll obviously deploy the umbrella.
You don't think maybe, we don't have very good weather all the time in this country, that you might feel your customers might want to ask for some sort of, because sometimes those umbrellas actually have heating inside them, don't they?
Regarding that, we thought that, again, because of the noise, we don't really want people to want to go in that particular area. We're more of a lounge where you sit inside and you have your cocktails. That was, not really sure how to word it, but we don't really want to make it all that inviting to want to go. I feel as if a heater was to be put up, then it would be, a problem might arise from that.
Just on that point, if I may just jump in, because it's a similar point. I noticed there's an exhaust up there for the odours from presumably the kitchen. Is that quite noisy, or whereabouts is that located?
It's located on the rear of the building that looks towards Croft Street. Again, during the hours which the cafe is open, it's not open. The bar, we don't open the bar. I mean, the cafe opening hours are from 8:30 in the morning until 4 p.m. And then we open the bar from 6 until 11.
I have other questions, but I'll ask my colleague. But just one other thing on that. Do people go up onto the terrace to smoke, and does it overlook gardens of the neighbours?
Yes, the primary reason that customers go there is to smoke. It's known as a smoking area. Does it overlook customers? No, it doesn't overlook any particular gardens. It does look over the roof of next door, which I believe isn't occupied, but that's the extent of the view.
For the moment, I'll ask my colleague to continue with the questions, if I may, please.
Good morning, Jem.
Good morning.
Jem, as you'll be aware from the papers, there have been some objections regarding noise, etc. But you did mention in your sort of comments that you actually have a dedicated telephone line that people can phone you. How often do people actually make complaints about the noise?
Us personally, through our number, we haven't received any.
Right.
And again, the phone is located on the bar, so if it was to ring, we would be able to see it.
Yeah. As one of the owners of the business, would you actually deal with any complaints yourself, or would that be passed on to a member of staff to deal with?
That would be myself directly involved.
Okay, thank you. No further question.
So I'm sort of coming back to what was asked earlier, is what exactly do you do? Are you a cafe restaurant, or are you wanting to be a wine bar? Or I know you said it was sort of like to go a bit more continental, but if upstairs is purely for smoking, do they have food up there, that sort of thing?
Sure. I mean, we operate through, it's a cafe, so it's a 3-storey building. The top floor is a residential, which we have tenants in there. And the second floor is the bar, which is known as Bar 14. And then the bottom floor is the cafe, which we are currently in the process of introducing an Italian. We have an Italian chef who's arrived. So we're going to start serving Italian dishes on the bottom ground floor.
And how close are you to residential neighbours then? You mentioned there was a roof, but you said there was nobody in it. Have I got that correct or not? So are there any neighbours living close proximity?
To the best of my knowledge, I believe from the outlook of the terrace to the right-hand side, 2 buildings down, there is a residential property there, which I believe was one of the objectors, I believe Iris House. And there are, on the further side of the terrace, there are some, again, residents living there, which we do have a good relationship with.
And have you engaged with the people who are obviously unhappy at the moment? Have you engaged with them at all? Have you been round to see them? Have they been to see you?
No, there has been nothing.
But you've obviously been aware there's been...
Sure.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
I'm interested to know why you feel to open until 1 o'clock would be beneficial to your business.
The primary reason for that is our customers were saying, oh, I wish you were open longer. In order to pursue that, we put our application through.
Can I follow on with that? Because these questions prompt questions, don't they? We sort of... the local pub, is that frequented till later hours, or do you know, or do people come from there to your establishment?
I mean, naturally, being a fairly small town, we do have customers at either end. Their hours, I'm not aware of their opening or of their licensing hours. I'm not aware.
Yeah, but do they come, do you know whether people... I mean, I'm trying to work out whether you're primarily a cafe or a drinking establishment, and, you know, do they come from there to follow on, if you see what I mean? And do you get the younger generation? This gentleman has kindly told us his age, which is young as far as I'm concerned.
Thank you very much.
You know, do you get a mix of people in there on this?
Yes, we do. We do get a mixture of anything ranging from 18 to, I mean, there's
But you're not aware they come from the pub to you once they've been in the pub?
I mean, they come from the pub to us. There's a large hotel called the Oaksmere that people from far away come, and then they want, you know, a dining, a cocktail, and then they come to us.
And with regard to young people, if you're having food in the establishment, is there anything that, you know, they have to come in with family to eat and they're allowed to sit and have, I don't know what the licensing rules are for younger people, but is it an obligatory thing that they would have a meal and then drink, or is it just straight to the bar? I mean, obviously young people you couldn't allow in.
It's seen as two different, completely different. I mean, the cafe is called Cafe, and then the bar is known as Bar 14. So there's, I mean, our cafe customers won't have their meal and then come up to the bar.
Ah, right. Yeah, like a lounge area. I told you that's quite...
It's basically following up for what Councillor Guthrie was saying earlier. You mentioned that you serve food between 8:30 and 4 o'clock. Yet you've just say you've taken on an Italian chef. So have you plans to sort of cook in the evenings as well for evening meals, you know, as well?
Because what we did operate as was an all-day breakfast. So we're looking to maybe stop the breakfast at around about the 12 p.m. mark and then introduce the Italian food.
So will that go on into the evening, or we'll still finish at 4 o'clock?
Currently, there aren't any plans to extend that after 4.
Well, I think we've asked sufficient questions, haven't we? So I think now, if you would like to sum up, and you are the person that has the final say, to really give us full details of your business and how you see it going forward and what you've heard today. So if you'd like to tell us your final statements. Thank you.
Sure. As I previously mentioned, I feel as if we are an important asset to the community and to the local residents. And again, on multiple occasions, they have said to us that they feel like they're abroad, again, because of the service that we offer, the cocktails, whether it's a slice of apple on a cocktail glass, with some lights flashing underneath it, is something that they only experience abroad. And it gives us great joy to be able to offer our customers that. It has saddened me that we have had objections, especially on the nuisance. I mean, me personally, I see the residents there as how would I feel if I was living there. And if they'd directly come to us regarding whether it's noise, and again, without coming to this extent, it would have been dealt with. That's my previous example, the blinds. The customer felt as if people were looking down on our house, and a lovely lady, a good customer of ours. So immediately we ordered some blinds to cut off that area, and then obviously that situation was dealt with. And me being one-to-one involved with the business, I'm there every day. Any problems are dealt with immediately. The extension of our hours, I feel will just be able to better offer and have happier customers. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I think now we've come to the point where we would now close the session and we will go into our debate. So if we can kindly ask you to leave, can the officer sort of So we'll ask our legal advisor to read out the decision of the committee. Thank you.
Thank you. The committee members have considered your application very carefully and also considered the representations made in response to your application. They are going to grant a variation to your licence, but it's not going to be exactly as you applied for. They do consider there is a potential for public nuisance given the setting of your establishment and the environment. So what they are going to do, they're going to amend the hours, but from Sunday to Thursday, the supply of alcohol will be to 11:30 each night with a closing time of midnight. The Friday and Saturday hours are as applied for, so you have till midnight 30 on those nights and closing time of 1 a.m. There is an additional condition granted in respect of the terrace, as the members considered that is a sensitive area for causing public nuisance late at night. And the additional condition is that the outside terrace shall not be used for licensable purposes and drinking after 11:30 p.m. each night. So that will mean that customers will have to come in at 11:30. Access is still granted after that time for smoking, but obviously if they're not taking drinks with them, they're less likely to be out there for any length of time, and we'll come back, and that's the thinking of the members on that. And there is an amendment to one of your conditions under the prevention of public nuisance, and the condition that you had put in was that the sale and consumption of alcohol shall cease by 100 hours, or 1 a.m. We've removed the words sale and, so it shall now read the consumption of alcohol shall cease by 1 a.m. and that applies to Saturday and Sunday mornings. And another similar condition is included that the consumption of alcohol shall cease by midnight on Monday to Thursday mornings. So just tidying up, the sale and was causing confusion because it was in slight conflict with what you had applied for. And that's as granted. That's the decision of the subcommittee. There is a right of appeal against the decision or any of the conditions that you're not happy with, and that right of appeal must be made to the Magistrates' Court within 21 days of receiving written confirmation of this decision. And that's it.
Thank you very much for your presentations, and so the meeting is now closed. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.